Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Have fun watching this video.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Once upon a time, in the very, very olden days, when the Kauravas were ruling in Hastinapur, at that time Duryodhan had once asked Yudhishthir to come for a game of dice. And we all know that Yudhishthir lost that game. After losing the game, he was exiled with his brothers for 12 years. At that time, the Pandavas knew that they will have to fight Duryodhan to get back their kingdom. Without a great war, it would be impossible. And for that purpose, the Pandavas had started preparing while they were still in exile. And to that end, Arjun had left his wife Draupadi and his four brothers in this forest, and he had gone to the Himalayas. He had gone to the Himalayas and he walked on foot. He crossed the Gandhamadan mountain and he went to Indrakil mountain. Indrakil mountain literally means the garden of Indra, where the king of war, Indra, he himself sports. It is said to be his garden. Nowadays, it is said to be in the area of Sikkim and Himachal. Arjun had gone there to pray to Lord Shiva because he wanted Lord Shiva to be propitiated and to grant him the boon to use the divine celestial weapons as and when needed. Shivji's divine weapon, Pashupataastra, was the one that Arjun was after. And to that end, Arjun he made a shivling out of the mud and then he started praying to it. Every day he would offer flowers and incense and then he would stand with his eyes closed in dhyan, concentrating on Lord Shiva and praying to him to make him listen to Arjun's pleas. And the other rishis and munis who lived, the hermits who lived there in the hermitages, they were also initially surprised. Why has this Pandav prince come here to pray? Because he has all these weapons with him. He has his bow and arrows, he has his sword. And people who live here, they are really ascetics. They don't have any weapons and they are just intent on praying to God. But still, a Kshatriya prince had come and he was doing the prayers just like they were. So then later on, they all understood, oh, all right, it is Arjun, the Pandav prince, and he has come for a special purpose. So Arjun continued with his prayers for a very long time, but nothing happened. But his penance was so intense that it generated a lot of heat. And this heat was in the form of suffocating clouds, hot clouds. And these were torturing the other people who lived on the Indrakil mountain. And so, ultimately, the rishis and munis, they went up to Kailasa, to Lord Shiva's abode, and they prayed to Lord Shiva on Arjun's behalf to please grant him his wish so that they all could be spared from the intense heat of Arjun's penance. So Lord Shiva listened to them and then he said, all right, I will come down and I will see what I can do. And so happily the rishis and munis went back. Then Parvati ji, who was sitting next to Shivji, she asked him, my lord, what does Arjun want? Why is he praying so hard to you? Shivji smiled and said, my dear, there is going to be a great war in the times to come, and Arjun is preparing for the war. Because those who have foresight, they know that they have to prepare for any event in their life. They want to be well prepared. They don't just wait till something happens and then to face the problem. So Arjun is already trying to get the divine weapons from me. He wants the divine celestial weapons which are even precious and rare for the gods themselves. He wants those. Parvati ji said, but he is a mere mortal. Is he allowed to use them? Shivji said, it doesn't depend whether you are a mortal or an immortal. It depends upon your abilities. If you are an able person, then you can be given the responsibility of those weapons. Otherwise not. Then Parvati ji said, and how will you determine that, my lord? Whether Arjun is capable or not to be granted the boon of using these weapons? Shivji said, well, that is what I have to find out. So I'll go and see him and then I'll make up my mind what to do. Parvati ji said, well, I would also like to come along, my lord. I would like to witness this test, this Arjun's test. And Shivji smiled and said, that's all right, but I'm going to go as a tribal chief, as a kirat, a tribal chief of the mountains, the tribes that live in the mountains. So I am going to go as the tribal chief, and if you want to come, you can come along as my wife. So Parvati ji smiled happily and said, oh, I will dress up as a tribal woman. It will be great fun. But when Shivji's Ganas, they heard of this, they also got excited and they said, Lord, we also want to come. We also want to witness. Can we also come, please, Lord? So Shivji laughed and said, oh, all right, you all can come, but you have to dress up as tribal girls, all of you. So all the Ganas, they got excited and they transformed themselves into very pretty, dainty tribal girls. And then Shivji walked at the head of the tribe. So he was walking ahead as the tribal chief with his bow and arrow, and Parvati ji walking beside him as the tribal girl, and then the army of the tribal girls behind them, all those girls, the Ganas following them. And like this, they were walking from Kailasa. In the meantime, Duryodhan had heard that Arjun was trying to procure the divine weapons, and he didn't want that. And because he was friendly with so many monsters, so many demons and asuras, he sent Mukasur. He spoke to Mukasur and said, Mukasur, if you can only help me out, it would be so good, because Arjun is trying to procure those weapons. Go and try to disturb him, disturb his penance, so that he doesn't get those weapons. So Mukasur was more than happy to oblige. And he said, all right, and I will try to kill him. I'm sure I will be able to kill him. And Duryodhan said, that would be best if you could do that. And so Mukasur, he went to Indrakil mountain. And then this monster, Mukasur, he took the form of a boar, a wild boar. And then he started charging. He was charging at the people and at the hermitages on the way, and everybody was hiding, helter-skelter, running away from him. He was a menace. Everyone was getting disturbed because of Mukasur, who was snorting and running and trying to attack people. And then Shivji, who was dressed as the Kirat, he also saw him. And Parvati ji said, look, Lord, this monster, this boar, he's disturbing all these ascetics. Now that is not nice. Shivji said, yeah, I'll take care of it. But by that time, the boar had reached Arjun, and he was disturbing Arjun with all the noise that he was making. So Arjun opened his eyes and he looked, and what he saw didn't please him. He saw this big wild boar looking at him, ready to attack him with red eyes. So Arjun lifted his bow and arrow to shoot an arrow. But just then, the Kirat, Lord Shivji, who had come there in the form of a Kirat, he also came there and he stopped Arjun. He said, don't shoot that arrow, young man, because this is my prey. I am going to hunt him. Arjun said, are you trying to stop a Kshatriya prince from a hunt? Don't do that. You won't stop me. And with that, Arjun shot his arrow. But the Kirat had also shot the arrow. At the same time, both the arrows whizzed in the air and they hit the boar simultaneously. And the boar fell dead in between both of them, the Kirat and Arjun. As soon as the boar died, he took his original, his real form, the very horrible form of the monster, Mukasur. And all the ascetics, they were amazed when they saw how hideous and ugly and large he was in that vicious form. And they were all glad that now this monster was dead. And then all the tribal girls, they started cheering and praising the tribal chief, saying, oh, our tribal chief has done it. Our Kirat chief has done it. He killed the wild boar who was troubling all the ascetics. At that, Arjun was amused and he said, aren't you all a little silly? Didn't you see that I am the one who killed the boar? The Kirat also looked amused and said, no, it was my arrow. It wasn't yours. Arjun said, no, of course not. It was my arrow that killed the boar. And so, a verbal spat, it started, with the Kirat insisting that it was his arrow and Arjun insisting that it was his arrow. After all, he was the mighty Arjun, wasn't he? So then, to settle it, the Kirat said, okay, let's find out. So who is the better archer amongst us? Let's see. And Arjun was more than ready because he was a Kshatriya prince. So he took up his bow and arrow and he started shooting his arrows at the Kirat. But to his surprise, his deadly arrows were met by the arrows that were shot by the Kirat, and they were all crushed in between, cut in two pieces. None of his arrows could hit their mark. Not one of them reached the Kirat. Arjun started wondering, how is this possible? I am the best archer on earth. My Guru Drona himself has said that there is no better archer than me. Then how can it be that this Kirat is better than me? Really, this is something strange. But he kept on shooting arrows. He kept on firing them, and the Kirat just kept on cutting them as soon as they would come. And suddenly Arjun found that his quiver was empty. Now this normally did never happen because the quiver had been given by Agni. And Agni Dev had promised Arjun that this quiver would always be full of arrows. it would never be empty. So this again was a surprise that suddenly all the arrows were finished. And Arjun, who could hit his mark with only one arrow, was suddenly found himself without any. But then he was not to be deterred, so what he did was that he took his bow and he tried to clasp the kirat between the bow and the string and tried to crush him. But the kirat very easily broke the string of the bow and freed himself. Then in anger, Arjun took up his sword and he struck at the kirat's head with all his might. But the kirat, nothing happened to him, and as soon as the sword hit his head, the sword broke in two pieces. Now Arjun was in a fury. He couldn't think properly. All he knew was that he had to defeat the Kirat anyhow. He had to kill him. And so he started uprooting trees in his anger. He was uprooting trees and he was trying to hit the Kirat and crush him under the weight of the trees. But nothing was happening to the Kirat. As soon as the trees would strike him, the trees would fall down, crushed, while he just stood there smiling. Ultimately, Arjun found that he had nothing now left with to hit the Kirat. His bow and arrows were finished, his sword was broken, and he didn't have any strength left in his arms to uproot any more trees. And just when he was thinking wildly what to do next, the Kirat very calmly picked him up. He picked him up by his legs and he swung him round and round and then threw him on the earth. Flat went Arjun on the earth and he was grievously hurt. It hurt bad, being flung on the earth like that. But most of all, more than the physical injuries, it was his ego that was shattered. He realized that he could not win against the Kirat. This Kirat was somebody he had no strength to fight against. And then, when his ego was shattered, he suddenly remembered Lord Shiva, to whom he was praying. And so then, he sat down, he closed his eyes. In front of the shivling, he sat and prayed to Lord Shiva to help him. And as he prayed to Lord Shiva to help him, Arjun could feel the energy surging in his body. Suddenly he felt revived. All the pain was gone, all the fatigue was gone, and he felt rejuvenated and recharged. And so he got up, he sprang up, and he opened his eyes and he sprang up, and now he was ready to attack the Kirat again. But then he saw that the garland that he had placed on the shivling was now in the Kirat's neck. And then he understood suddenly. Oh, my Lord, it is you, my Lord Shiva. I have been praying to you for so long. And today you came to give me your darshan. And me, I am such a fool. I did not recognize you. In fact, I was stupid enough to fight you. Please forgive me. And Arjun fell at the Kirat's feet. Then Shivji smiled and said, it was my intent all along, Arjun. It was my wish that you should fight with me. I wanted to test you, whether you were capable of using the divine celestial weapons. And I find that you are. You are a good candidate. So I will give you my Pashupataastra. It can be used as and when you want in the time to come. And with that, Lord Shivji and Parvatiji, they both blessed Arjun, and Shivji showed Arjun his real form, the real form in which he lives in Kailasa with Parvati. And thus Arjun obtained the Pashupataastra, and this was indeed a major victory for the Pandav princes. So I hope you like the story, and if you like the story, please do let me know. Sai Ram.
Please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed.